Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. It's a beautiful day, and today we're going to talk with an agenda undefined.
Undefined.
I'm Frank, and this is my wife,
Ruchi.
and welcome to our podcast. So, today we are going to talk about a little sad topic, and which is something that we have been facing off late and seeing in the news. So, this sad topic is about the recent news that we have heard regarding the alarmingly rising rate of suicides in men, which is more or less specifically related to dowry related or domestic abuse or marital issues, which leads to mental health, family issues, and ultimately they are driven to suicide. So, we have seen recent cases, namely maybe a techie from Bangalore or a cafe owner. All these cases are sad, and they have thrown light for the need for men's rights. So, let's hop on to the discussion, and please feel free to add any comments on your thoughts on this video, and do like and subscribe to our channel.
The first question will be to you. And my first question is, do you think men's suffering in domestic situations is taken seriously in our society?
So, of course, men's suffering is not taken seriously in domestic society, is what I feel. And more or less, we being millennials, we were brought up in a sort of patriarchal society. And in a patriarchal society, even though we know or think that it is bad for women and it's something that is pro men, male dominance and all that, but we do not think or look at the other fact where as kids, right, we are taught not to cry, not to express ourselves, to man up, and
Yeah. Yeah, that vulnerability is not something that a
exactly.
man should show.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that is something that all men are taught, and they brought up that way. And when they get married, right? So again, like this is not something that just they face. Even if they express, it's not heard. Their voice is not heard. More or less from their own family members, their relatives, and also of course government law and police, right? So, whenever there is a case of domestic violence, a case of section 498A, immediately men are arrested. So, there is no much investigation. So, it's a direct target against the men. If a woman goes and reports this, of course, this is good in the sense that the action is swift and there are many women who need protection. But at the same time, I feel that the men's voice is hardly heard in these scenarios.
Yeah, I agree because as a woman, when you talk about your issues with your partner, I think everyone in the society nowadays, at least, people are more or less supportive of what you have to say, and they encourage you to take a step against the abuse. But in the case of men, men are very, they are kind of tuned to sort of accept whatever comes their way.
Yeah.
They don't even realize that they are being abused because abuse, as per many people, it's only physical and they don't even look at the emotional abuse side of things.
So, I wanted to ask you this. Why is it when we talk about um, domestic abuse, it's mostly a woman's issue, right? Do you think we need to broaden that spectrum?
Okay, yes, that's a very good question. So, for so long, we have lived in a patriarchal society and we discussed this. Obviously, women lose a lot more than men in a patriarchal society, and they've always been the more vulnerable gender. But in the recent past, I think we have come a long way, and a lot of families have moved away from their orthodox practices and their tradition. I mean, their traditional beliefs of what the family and gender roles have to be.
Right.
And now things are slowly changing. So right now, as we discussed, I think vulnerability should not have a gender, and vulnerability should only be across both the genders, and we should only address people as vulnerable individuals. So, when we talk about abuse, abuse is not just physical. unlike what most people think. People only think when you talk about domestic abuse, or you can only picture a husband, beating up and thrashing a wife, or, we've seen so many videos like
Yeah.
that as well. So many CCTV footages have come out in the
Yeah.
recent past, especially during COVID when everyone was locked up. We got to see so many of those cases as well. So, but that's not the only form of abuse. So, physical abuse is one form. There's also emotional abuse, financial abuse, even, trying to separate your partner from their family,
Definitely.
trying
Yeah.
to threaten them to take away the custody of the child, trying to, falsely accusing them of adultery. So, falsely accusing them of, torture or abuse or whatever. So, those are also forms of abuse,
That's right.
which many people are not even aware of. So, that is why when people talk about domestic abuse, it's largely thought of as a women's issue, because there is still the belief in the society that the woman cannot physically empower a man. So that is the reason why I think, when you say domestic abuse, it's mostly thought of as a women's issue, which is not the case. It can be a both gender issue, where, we have to start thinking about the other forms of abuse as well, which are far more common in our society than we know of.
That's right. That's right. I think when you spoke about the false accusations, right? So that's one of the most common issue that we face. So whenever a woman uses the Section 498 card, whenever you don't get what you need, right? Any woman can just use that and blackmail or threaten.
Correct. Correct.
It's like literally, as you said, you get caught cheated, and then but you instead say that you hit me and you abuse me. I am going to divorce you now, and you have to pay me for what I am doing, right? So these are things that do torment men and their families also.
So, talking about that, do you think the current laws on domestic abuse or domestic rights are kind of tilted towards women, and such that, women can misuse these laws, which are actually meant to protect them?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. They are a little bit tilted towards women, and it favors women because they're not there for men, right? There are no such laws there to protect men. And as you said before, like it is not an easy issue for men. Like whenever somebody goes through this, they like men have to have the same, like men have to face problems at work. They have to take a break for this. They have to go to court hearings. It affects them, affects their mental health. There has been a case of a person who suicided because he didn't want that pain for his family, right? His family was suffering, and he didn't want to cause so much stress for his parents. So definitely the law is not it's not favorable for men. And also some alarming facts, right? Facts or figures on these. Like I like to share that with you. Just an NCRB report in 2022 stated that close to 26,588 male suicides were there in the past 8 years, and these are all related to marriage related issues, right? Like dowry, extramarital affairs, all that.
That's a really alarming number.
Yeah, and married men exhibited a suicide death rate of 24.3 per 1 lakh individuals, and this was nearly 3 times higher than that of married women. So, of course, like we cannot directly attribute this to the laws, but the laws do play a part in this, right? When somebody is
And
helpless.
also when you say those statistics, let's put out a disclaimer that we are not trying to belittle
Yes.
women's sufferings, but we are only trying to bring into light that men can also go through
Yes.
something similar, and they should also be offered help and support.
Correct, correct. Definitely. Because of course, in women's rights, see, these are suicides. There are cases of women being killed, right, for dowry and
Yeah.
all these issues. And in a city, I think it's easier, but when you go for more rural areas, many of these news never come out, right? And if you're an influential family, you can just wipe things out and move on, and nobody's ever going to find about it. But
Yeah.
of late, things are changing. Now, I think recently there have been cases of men being murdered for extramarital affairs. So, it's always not a physical versus mental thing. Like, it is something that both gender face
Yeah.
in both aspects.
Rightly said. It's something that both the genders can face.
Yes.
So we should just start, making laws better such that the laws are not directly focused only on one gender but on both the genders, and we are able to identify vulnerable individuals and
Definitely.
offer them support
That's right.
whenever required.
That's right. So talking about families, like we've been mentioning families, right, and their role. So what do you think is the effect that families bring upon these situations, and is it a positive or negative, and how do we control that?
So I think forever we've even seen in movies, um, people always say that individuals don't just marry each other in India, but families marry each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think both the North Indian and South Indian movies and societies have been
yes,
promoting this idea. And I think even in the modern society, it still holds to a certain extent, maybe not to the extent of what it used to be in our parents' days or grandparents' days, but even now to a certain extent it holds true. Uh, a lot of times, especially when it's an arranged marriage, when a couple has a dispute, it's the family that steps in to sort of mediate the situation. And in that setting, when the families have ego clashes with each other,
yeah,
it ends up being, they don't end up mediating the fight and they just kind of add fuel to the fire
yes,
and make things worse for the couple, which sort of pushes them towards, a divorce or whatever. And it can lead to a lot of problems. So, couples also, young couples, families have to realize that, what they need to show at that time is wisdom and empathy. And younger couples also need to realize that you have to have a good understanding with your partner before you jump into a marriage, because marriage is not the same as what it used to be in the days of our parents. The society is constantly evolving, and I think it's a very good practice to start knowing your partner before you jump into a marriage.
definitely,
And when you have issues with your partner, try to talk it out openly with your partner and see where the discussion goes before you involve your family.
that's right.
Couples have to start understanding that the family you are trying to build with your partner is what your family is after you get married, and not the family
Yeah,
that you both have come from.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So I think that should be one of the perspectives to move forward with.
Definitely, rightly said.
Yeah.
I think one point you even pointed out is the couples being aware, like individuals being aware of what they're signing up for. So at least in our case, we are talking about this openly, and this is a level of comfort and communication that couples need to have, where they're able to talk about these issues openly, and at the same time deal with them with wisdom and maturity, right? And all this will happen only if the partners or the individuals are the same wavelength. Maybe only if you like each other, for that matter, right?
Yeah, more than like, don't you think it's also respect each other?
Yes, everything.
I think that comes
Everything
first,
comes,
right?
but it
Yeah.
comes when you want to respect the individual, right? So
Yeah.
when you take two individuals, and if I marry somebody and I feel I don't like this about somebody, but I want to, or I have to spend my entire life with this somebody, right? And this decision is not mine, but somebody else, that is my parents. So that frustration is there, but this is a small frustration. But there are larger frustrations. Maybe the other individual is having some lover and they marry. So these situations can be avoided when there is a norm where the couples get to know each other and not just bond mentally, physically, and all that, but as you told, get that respect and understanding for each other, because
Yeah.
that comes after the first phases of vibing and all that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when that comes, I think they will understand, they'll know whether they can live with each other for the rest of the life if they
Correct.
try to give it
Yeah.
a shot
So
before.
speaking about couples and when we're talking about this topic, so do you think personally in our relationship, have we ever felt emotionally distraught because of the gender roles that the society has tried, just throwing at us and trying to make us fit into?
Yeah, I think you also know the answer, right? That usually whatever work we do at home, it's not like it is my work or your work,
Yeah,
right? Whether it's
absolutely.
washing the
Yeah.
dishes or cleaning clothes or just arranging things.
Yeah.
We don't have gender specific roles at home, and we also don't. So both of us do work, and at the same time we do get less time in the evenings, and our
Yeah.
parents also help us out with dinner, and when we're not at home, to help us with the cleaning of house and
Yeah.
coordinating all these things. So I think their involvement, like in the sense it's helpful, but also not intrusive into our personal
Yeah.
life, and our understanding as to not biasing or splitting tasks or work based on sex, but just taking things along as it
Yeah.
comes is also very
So
important.
how we split tasks at home is just your gender doesn't matter, but your the time available at
Yeah,
hand, that's what matters. So
that's
both
fine.
of us even cook for each other sometimes. Both of us wash clothes for each other sometimes. Both of us even fix things for each
Yeah,
other, like actual mechanical things around the
right.
house for each other sometimes. So that's
That's
how
correct.
we roll.
Yeah, I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
That fights do happen in any relationship, and we need to know how to go about it. And there is always, like, it cannot be a win-win always, and we need to have a situation where, of course, you might be working more than the other person, you might be doing more housework, but you understand, you have that mutual understanding. You don't blame it on the other person that, hey, I'm doing all the housework, you're coming home late every day. You need to talk out, you need to talk these things out and then come to an understanding. But yes, of course, so that is where, like, when things don't work out, you have couples therapy and all this, but
Yeah.
also individually also I feel people need that
Yeah,
therapy.
so unless you are going to help yourself individually by going to a counseling
Yeah.
session, a couple's counseling is not going to do
Yeah,
much for you.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like that individual at all, right, there's no point sitting with that person
No,
forcing
that,
yourself.
that that's not what I meant. What I meant was if you have mental health issues yourself
Okay.
and you don't address those mental health
Yeah,
issues,
definitely.
going for a couple's counseling is
Yeah,
not going to be helpful for you
yeah.
in any way.
That's
So
right.
there are a lot
That's right.
of counselors also who believe that instead of counseling the couple together, let me counsel each of them separately as
Okay.
individuals,
Okay.
and then they try to work around it.
Okay. Okay. That's actually right. And I think like even during, like, if the divorce happens, right, I think every individual is also supposed to have a counseling session separately to cope up with it, right? So whether they are in the right or the wrong, or if it's a false case or whatever, I think government should take steps like how you have the suicide hotline. You should have this hotline for mental health for couples going through a divorce, where they should get a quick and easy access and also cheap access to therapy individually, where they're able to express and cope up with all the difficulties and work pressure at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
So it need not be a dedicated helpline for just couples, but a gender neutral
yes,
helpline
yes,
for anyone who is undergoing some sort of mental distress or, you know, um, is thinking about committing a suicide go,
definitely,
can reach out to this helpline and they can get help and support
definitely.
for this.
So, finally, so what do you think, like, how can men and women work together and build a system that deals with these things fairly? Like, how do you think, what would be the right fit or system for this?
Okay, so I had written down a couple of points for the conclusion. I'm just going to use that here. So I think the first step would be to listen without getting defensive. Um, so what this means is basically that I'm able to listen to your issues without saying, oh, my issues are bigger, you know. And it's not a competition between whose issues are bigger, but you just have to be wise and you have to say, yes, your issues matter too. I may have a
Yeah.
lot of issues, but right now we're discussing about your issues and
Yes.
not my issues. So that is what you have to come up with. So both the genders carry the pain because of the patriarchal society, because of the gender roles that are thrown at us. So both the genders carry their own pain. Both the genders can be equally vulnerable. So it is important that we start listening to people without getting defensive about ourselves.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
The second point is standing up for each other. And standing up for each other does not mean you stand up for each other only when it's comfortable, but especially when it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
That's right.
So, as a woman, I should not be, I am a feminist, proud feminist, but just because I support a man when the woman is in the wrong and the man is in the right, it does not make me lesser of a feminist. And similarly, when a man stands up for a women's issue, it does not make him, what do you call, a simp man or whatever. The society
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
lot of names for such good deeds that men do also. So please start standing up for each other. Only then
Well said, well said.
collectively as a society can we grow. Otherwise, we're just going to be pulling each other down.
Correct, correct.
Okay, the third thing that I thought of is to push for systems that protect vulnerables, that is both the genders, and not just one gender.
Absolutely.
So we have to push for systems that protect vulnerable individuals from both the genders and not just one gender.
Correct.
Yeah. And how I thought we can do this is, as we discussed, by building better mental health systems, by aiming for faster and just legal systems, fair custody battles, and gender neutral therapy helplines.
Definitely.
This is what I thought of. And finally, let's not forget, we have to, this is something that I keep emphasizing. So we have to start raising the next generation better
Of course,
than
of
what we were
course.
raised.
Yeah.
So we have to start valuing empathy over ego, respect over roles, and partnership above power.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would just like to conclude with this last statement of mine. True equality is not about sides, but it's about solidarity. So let's start, standing up for each other and start thinking of society as not two different genders, but as equal individuals. And when someone is in trouble, let's extend out a helping hand for them.
Definitely, definitely. Well said. Well said. And I think it's high time that, this men's right is also something that's addressed, and hopefully we don't have other innocent souls and innocent men who are, unheard of. And these suicides, hopefully the numbers come down in the near future. So good
Let's hope
discussion.
for the best, yes.
Yeah. Good discussion. I think this is a nice topic. I think sensitive topic, but a topic that has to be spoken. And I know as a couple, it's good to talk about all these things. It's good doing these shows with you. So to the viewers, thanks for watching. Do like, share, and subscribe our channel. And of course, do stay tuned for regular updates from us and regular such videos if you like it. Have a nice day and stay safe. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye bye.